What's up, suitors? Welcome to another edition of Suits Talk with Dem Gurus, Season 4, Episode 1 edition. I'm your host, Aaron.
And I'm Nick.
And let me tell you, we have got a lot to talk about. This episode was epic. I'm really excited. I've been waiting for 3 months, and this episode did not disappoint.
Yeah, and I watched the promos, and it kind of teased Mike and Harvey, but Mike was definitely a god next to Harvey in this episode. Maybe not all time, but in this episode, Mike kind of put Harvey in his place.
Oh, he definitely did. Before we dive deep into it, because I feel like you kind of have a differing opinion from me, did you think this was a good episode?
I'm really torn. I think the first episode of any season with any show is kind of slow, especially with a show like Suits, especially with how it's taken it now, with really plot-heavy stuff. I think the first episodes are always exposition, so it was kind of slow, but I don't think it dragged. I don't think it dragged at all.
I don't think it was slow. I think it was an awesome episode, and I would give it a 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10. So would you say it's the
best? It had everything I wanted out of an episode. It had humor. It had...
Would you say it's the best season opener that the series has had?
No.
No?
The first episode was the best.
Okay.
By far.
So it was a close second?
By 100 miles.
So a close second.
Yeah, a close second. Maybe.
I will tell you something that I didn't like, if the only thing I didn't like was the opening, believe it or not. Because it had the same music, the same clips from the promo that had everyone talking with Harvey and the girl in the shower. Was it Rachel?
It was not the same clips. There was a few clips, but the thing with Jessica was not there in the promos.
Right, but I mean, it intentionally tried to fool us for the first minute or two, and my jaw kept dropping time after time. I'm like, oh my god, Harvey's sleeping with Rachel. Then I'm like, no, he's sleeping with Jessica. Then it all kind of unfolds as the show goes on.
We were rewinding and going like, what the heck is going on?
Zeus did not just pull that on us.
Yeah, that was very masterful by the writers / directors.
But I do have to give some credit to my man Aaron. He did call one of the first things shown.
I did?
Would be the first day at Mike's office. He did say that one of the things, and I said there'd be a time jump, and I was semi-right because there's a 3-month time jump.
6 months.
6 months, whatever, but I did say that Rachel would be in law school and Mike would be at his new job. It was only 3 months, but I guess we'll have to do.
Yeah, well, you were not right. We're just gonna
okay.
So, I think maybe not precisely chronologically, but we're just gonna kind of go through the episode and talk about all the big things that happened, the things that can affect the rest of the season. So the first part of the episode kind of just we kind of get to see where all the characters are at. Mike shows off his limo,
which I want to say Mike has a balling new office. Way cooler than he would have had at Pearson Specter.
Yeah, but early in the episode, we get to see him get chewed out in the office. So
True. But
he's like bawling in the beginning, but at the same time, they didn't want him to just have the perfect episode. They had to just have Jonathan Sigwell go in there and just knock him down a notch. Anyways, before we get to that, we get introduced to a few new characters. We meet Mike's new assistant, Amy.
Which we talked about in our discussion, that we knew that he would have a new assistant that'd be like his own Donna, and they kind of have the same dynamic as Donna and Harvey have.
Yeah, except she's not as attractive as Donna,
and she doesn't have that confidence to her that I think makes Donna really attractive, at least in my opinion.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't think anyone can beat a Donna because she's a person and a title.
Yeah, she's a title. Okay, so we're introduced to Jeff Malone, who kind of comes in. He's from the SEC, and he sort of threatens Jessica and Harvey. It's weird because when he's sitting in their conference room and Jessica and Harvey come in, and Harvey walks in like he always does, but Jessica kind of hesitates in the doorway, and I'm taking notes, and the first thing I write down is, this is the guy Jessica's sleeping with. That's the first thing I wrote down. It's on my notes right now. I can see it. And then the rest of the scene unfolded, and then Jessica and Harvey decided they weren't going to hire him, or Jessica did. And I said, well, that was just a dumb theory. I don't know why I just pulled that out of a hat. And then later we find out that my theory was right. And I was just like, yes!
Two for two during this podcast.
I am the man.
No, but with Jeff Malone, off the bat, I initially liked his character because the way he talks to Harvey is a way very few people talk to Harvey. He pretty much tells him, like, look, I'm going to have this job, bar none. Yeah. And Harvey's just kind of like, okay, then.
Harvey likes him. That
Harvey
doesn't
does.
happen very
Yeah.
often. I mean, when was the last time we
Mike,
saw
Mike,
yeah,
maybe.
That's what I was exactly
Mike,
what I was
maybe.
about to say. The last
Maybe
time
Mike.
Harvey liked somebody off the bat was Mike. So I don't know if this will be a recurring character. There was kind of some not really closure at the end with. I mean, there wasn't any closure at the end, but I feel like they're just trying to bring in some new characters. The last couple seasons, we've seen a lot of characters kind of leave the show. I mean, Sheila's probably gone from the show, and
Maybe. I mean, I think Lewis will have some sort of romantic interaction.
but not with her.
Or maybe this season they'll substitute, because I know they amped up the Katrina Lewis thing in this episode. So maybe he'll just stick to like a platonic relationship.
Well, I'm not talking about like in a Lewis relationship sense. I'm just talking about how we've seen some characters leave the show, but we haven't really seen any new ones, like major characters come in. So like, Trevor left and
right. I think the Darby merger was the last one, but even still, we saw Nigel for a few episodes, and he kind of like flopped off for a little bit. Yeah. So who knows?
So they showed Jeff Malone and Amy, and then we also met a little bit later in the episode. We met Logan Sanders, who is the son of some sort of tycoon. And we find out, obviously, at the end of the episode that this was the guy that Rachel had an affair with.
Which Twitter blew up when those promos first aired, because it showed Rachel leaning over and kissing a man. And fan speculation was that because of the color filter used on it, it was supposed to show as a flashback. And I'm assuming that's what it was. Maybe it wasn't. But.
I haven't rewatched the promos since I saw this episode, but I feel like the guy in the promo was not that guy.
I don't know. I mean, I haven't rewatched them either, so I'm not sure.
Let's go back. Let's make sure before next week that we go back and watch that promo, the one that had Jessica, the one that had Rachel kissing that guy, and let's find out. Let's do a facial comparison and find out if that was Logan Sanders. Because if it's not, we have some spicy going on.
I also want to say, when I was watching the promos, if you listen to our discussion, me and Aaron have like a pretty lengthy conversation about all the stuff that was shown in the promos, and I feel like it was all covered in one episode. Like, I feel like I saw majority of the episode from the promos.
Yeah, well, I mean, the promos, like, almost everything in the promo was in the first 10 minutes of the episode, which I guess that kind of makes sense, but I just kind of assumed it would be over the first few episodes. I think there was some footage about Harvey and Mike. One of them was saying to the other one, well, you're going to lose, or something like that.
Right, which I'm glad we saw that finally.
We did see that?
We saw it at the end when...
Yeah, but they didn't say that specifically.
Well, I mean, I think he did say something like that. I think it's when they were at the end together and they said something along the lines of, well, but you're going down now, and Harvey retorts with, oh, why? Because you're on the other side? Now, it may not have been the exact exchange of words. It might have been altered to kind of amp it up during the promos.
Yeah. Maybe we do need to go back and do like a mini analysis of the promos that we have versus what we saw in the episode. So anyways, I have a lot of notes here about Mike. We've got a lot of good stuff on screen with Mike this week.
A big change in his appearance.
The first thing that I noticed when Mike came onto the screen at the beginning of the episode was that he had on a bright blue tie. And maybe this is just because I haven't watched the show in 3 months, but I don't feel like he's ever dressed like that before. And it just kind of, I was like, whoa. So he's definitely changed in the 3 months since the end of the season.
He has. I was really turned off by Mike's character. It's not that he's evil. I don't think I'd go that far, but it's a darker side to Mike than we've seen the first 3 seasons. Because the first 2 is really playful, always cracking jokes, but now he's just kind of turning into Harvey, if I can say it. It's just strictly business,
Investment banking version of Harvey.
Which is something I wanted to talk about, is the first time we see Mike on screen, he's meeting with a client, one of the investment banker's client, and he handles the deal much like Harvey would.
Very Harvey-ish of him. What was that guy's name? Gillis?
Walter Gillis. Walter Gillis was his name. Maybe he'll be a recurring character.
It seems to me, I mean, maybe not a recurring character because he doesn't really have a place, but it seems to me like Walter Gillis, this whole thing with his company is going to be an important part of at least the rest of this half of the season, because I think obviously this episode called 3, 2, 1 Go is the beginning of a long battle between Mike and Harvey.
Right.
I think that's probably going to be the focus of at least of this half of the season, maybe the entire season. So we might see some more. I mean, we will see some more Gillis, but I don't think he'll be a recurring character.
Well, something I was thinking about is we talked about last time, the tagline is a firm divided, and we know Harvey and Mike are divided, but I wonder if this rift with Mike is going to hit home for people in the firm that aren't Harvey, like Jessica or Lewis. Like, when they're at ends, whose side are they going to take, really? Because
they're going to take Harvey's.
But if Harvey's wrong, if Harvey's in the wrong, will Jessica take his side? Will Rachel take his side? Will Lewis take Harvey's side? Because we know they don't get along.
Well, we saw Rachel tell Harvey, "I will help you beat Mike," to his face, and they're lovers. So I'm pretty sure everybody in the firm is on Harvey's side.
Maybe, but
maybe we could see a surprise flip from Donna.
Ooh.
Bam!
That'd be a hashtag bold prediction.
Hashtag bold predictions.
No, but I mean, as I said, I was I don't want to say disgusted by Mike's character, but it's not the Mike Ross I was used to. He just was kind of off to me. It didn't seem like Mike, to where if I had watched the first season, the second season, and then I just skipped to the fourth, it'd be like, this isn't the same guy at all.
Well, I think that's the point.
I know it's the point, but I mean, it's just not who he is,
Nick, you know that I love character development, and
I know you like character development.
This is character development. We are seeing a character flourish, and I love it. And
I love it too.
I want Mike to beat Harvey's ass. Bam.
I thought you said Harvey was a god and that he couldn't be beat, though.
Well, there's a first time for everything.
Because this episode swayed you the other way.
It did. And the only thing that I didn't like about Mike this episode was that Mike, and this is so stupid, Mike compares himself to LeBron and compares Harvey to MJ. Everybody knows. Anybody that thinks that LeBron is the greatest of all time is very wrong. I'm sorry. Michael Jordan is the greatest of all time.
I think what he was referring to more so isn't that who's better. It's that that Harvey's Michael Jordan and he's gone. Mike's LeBron, and now Harvey's going to be out and Mike's going to be the new king of basketball.
Harvey's still around, so that doesn't make sense.
I know, but I think it's just supposed to be the slick dialogue that Suits has,
like a pop culture reference. Right. Yeah. I don't know. Either way, it was not a good dialogue placement. I didn't like that. You know what I really did like about this episode?
Go ahead.
There was no Darby anything at all.
No Darby.
None. And you know what? I hope there's none forever. I don't want any Darby. This is going to be a recurring theme on this podcast because I am anti-Darby until the end of time. And if I ever see some Darby on my TV, I might throw a shoe through it because I don't want that. That does not make any sense to me. And it better never, ever, ever happen.
When the series ends with Harvey and Donna's wedding with Mike as a best man, I don't know who'd be in his party. I don't know if Harvey has any friends.
He doesn't.
He doesn't?
No, he has no friends. Although we did get to see Jessica and Harvey hanging out at the end of the episode.
I know. Yeah, it's weird. And also, was Jeff Malone her first romantic interest we've seen, or was there some others?
Well, there was some hints earlier about her and Rachel's dad, Robert Zane, remember?
Oh, weird.
Yeah,
That's weird.
They kind of had like
I forgot about that.
A mini thing going on for a little while, but yeah. I don't know. I mean, the tease they had at the beginning with maybe Jessica being at Harvey's, and it was, honestly, it was believable to me. I mean, if you kind of, for the entire series, it's kind of felt like there was some sort of, kind of like a mother-son relationship with them.
Right.
Now maybe it's more like a brother-sister, but now it's kind of like they're friends.
Friends, yeah.
And so I could see that happening. I don't think they'll ever go in that direction with the show, but I could see it being a possibility.
I said this last podcast, and it's one of the strong things I admire about the show is it doesn't rely on cheap gimmicks like cliffhangers to keep you hooked. I love Lost. I think it's one of the best shows, but it did use cliffhangers and stuff to keep you hooked each episode. Suits could have easily made you think for 2 or 3 episodes that Harvey was sleeping with Rachel through some means, or just try to prolong the suspense. I'm glad we were only in suspense for about 30 seconds, and then it was over.
Since we're on the subject, let's talk about the future a little bit.
Okay.
Do you think that will ever happen? Do you think that Harvey will ever sleep with Rachel?
I don't know if Harvey's that low.
I think that maybe, and it just sounds so like off the wall, like that would never happen. But think about this. This episode we did, even though they were happy the whole time, we saw Rachel commit to helping Harvey over Mike. So I could see if they had some sort of split or something like that, maybe over this Logan guy, maybe over an argument over it or something like that. I could see maybe Rachel saying, well, I'm going to go sleep with Harvey.
Because what other way to piss Mike off than to sleep with Harvey?
Yeah. Wow. So, is yes or no? Do you think it will happen?
I'm going to go with a no. I think I would like to see it happen, though.
You would like to see that happen?
I think I'd like to see Harvey and Mike go from just being like playfully like, hey, I'm going to beat you. No, I'm going to beat you, to being like, this is getting real and I'm going to do whatever it takes. And while that would be an extreme representation of that, I would still like to see some sort of, conflict between them.
I'm going to say yes. I think that's going to happen. And I think there's going to be a serious conflict between them. I don't know if they're ever going to be able to solve it. I mean, they will, because the show must go on. But I think this is going to get dirty.
I think there will be a conflict between Mike and Rachel about Logan Sanders. Because when she told Mike was just kind of staring off into space like, I don't want to hear about this. Like, this is ridiculous. And the episode ends without him saying anything back to her. So he's obviously pretty upset about it, or he's pissed or whatever. And I think that might be the divide that kind of starts the breaking,
Well, I think obviously he knew that happened. She had told him, but now he knows. First of all, he knows who the guy is that is trying to beat him with the investment, which he didn't know that before. So that's a plus. And second of all, he knows that Rachel will be working around him. So he's going to be upset about that. I don't think he's going to dump her over it or anything. He might try to use it to his advantage.
Maybe. I mean, I did talk about Mike being on this decline character-wise. Now, as far as character development, it's improving.
It's a steady incline.
As far as development, it's improving, but his character and his ethics are going down. I don't think he values the same things. I think you're right. I think he will try to use Logan Sanders in some way to his benefit. And I don't think that's very characteristic of Mike. And it's a good roundness to the character, but I don't think I like it. It's not saying I don't like the development. I just don't like his character right now. Because we saw him in this limo, and has the high life, a nice office. And we talked about this last time. Mike is a fraud. He is worth nothing. He has no formal education.
Do you need formal education to practice investment banking? Let me just, spoiler alert, you don't.
You don't. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying he only got that job because of his reputation at Pearson Specter, and he's big news.
He didn't get that job because of his reputation. He got that job because he helped Jonathan Sigwell.
Yeah, but would he have done that without being...
No, but that doesn't matter. He's not doing anything illegal now.
He's not, but he did, and we talked about that.
This guy, listeners, Nick, he is a hater.
I'm not a hater. It's just, if you think about it, long series run-wise, Aaron Kors said in a Q&A a few days ago that maybe 7 seasons will be Suits if it doesn't get canceled or something. Or until he gets tired of it, he said. But if they're going to go for 3 more seasons, something's got to happen there to prolong that tension. And I think eventually we're going to see a plot arc, maybe the last season or the last 2 seasons, where you find out people unraveling Mike's secret. And it's eventually going to play back in. It has to by nature.
I mean, I think it's very obvious he'll end up back at Pearson Specter by the end of season 4. So I think that it will always be, as long as Mike is at Pearson Specter, it will always be a thing that he could have his secret get revealed.
Well, it's cool because if you think about it, he's a fraud. He's hacked into, the bar and put himself in the bar. He's gone through extreme circumstances to make sure he's authenticated as a legit, quote-unquote, lawyer. But it's weird that the only place he's safe is the place he's being a fraud at. That he's safe when he's at Pearson Specter for the most part. I mean, if he's at Pearson Specter as an attorney, no one's going to really think twice about it because they'll think, well, they're a big law firm while they hire a fraud, or inspect his credentials,
I guess that makes sense.
But yeah, I mean, I guess that's beside the point. We kind of rambled on for a few minutes there about that. But yeah, I mean, I think we kind of rambled on for a little bit too long with that. But one of your bold predictions in our season 4 discussion was that there'd be a dissolution in the future with Pearson Specter. Do you still think that's a possibility? Based on what we saw in this episode, at least?
I don't have enough information yet, but even though it was kind of put there as like comedic relief, the Katrina giving Lewis the business card with Pearson Specter lit, I think it could be some like comical foreshadowing.
Maybe.
I think it's possible we could see something like that. I mean, could you ever really imagine Lewis as a name partner, though?
I think he's too eccentric to be. I don't think like Jessica takes him seriously enough to make him a name partner. I mean, he's kind of kooky.
Well, it's especially in this episode, but over the last like season or two, we've really seen like the relationship between Jessica and Harvey kind of grow, and in this episode, it grew a lot. I mean, they were actually honest to each other about things. I mean, it took a little pushing, and then Jessica cooked Harvey dinner.
Well, not just that, but when Harvey walked in the door, Jessica was already there making dinner.
Yeah, so she has a key.
She has a key. And he wasn't caught off guard by. He's like, "Oh, hey, Jessica, what's going on?" And it's like, it's just weird.
I think that is a perfect build-up for Harvey to rip her guts out.
Well, if you
don't say anything else. Hashtag bold prediction. Again, I have a lot of these. If we have any dedicated listeners who want to keep track of our bold predictions, maybe like a T-chart, feel free. Anyways, so, hashtag bold predictions. The season 4 finale, which will be almost a year from now, the season 4 finale will be the end of Jessica Pearson.
The end of her career at Pearson Specter?
The end of her on the show.
The end of her on the show.
And we will see a new firm.
Because how you said that sounded like she's going to be killed or something.
No, she's not going to
die. The end of Jessica Pearson.
She's not going to die, but she will be gone.
And you did say that Harvey would rip her guts out. I wasn't sure what you were implying.
This guy. Yes, but that is my bold prediction.
Specter lit. It's going to be coming around the corner.
I'm not going to go into specifics about who, but I think... And Jessica's an important part of the show, but... It's just such a perfect build-up. They have that relationship, and then Harvey stabs her in the back. I would love it.
Well, it's pretty interesting to watch this episode, because if you remember the season 3 premiere had Harvey staging a little coup against Jessica, planning to be with Darby and to kind of take her down. And then a season after, he's just sitting there chilling, cooking with her. It's a very big contrast to what they used to be, definitely. I think you're right about that. But
I'm always right.
But the end of season 4 being her last episode, I don't know about that. I might have to disagree, but I mean, you are 2 for 2 tonight, so I don't know.
I'm never wrong. So, I think we've covered most of the episode. We do have some, maybe some Suits-related news. Didn't you say... in the same interview that you cited earlier about Aaron Korsh, didn't you tell me that he said we will see Daniel Hardman again?
It was a Q&A on Twitter, and somebody said, will we see the return of Daniel Hardman? And Aaron Korsh said, quite possibly. That's all he said. And if you listen to the discussion, I'm tired of Daniel Hardman. I don't want him to be some criminal mastermind behind taking out plots against the firm and constantly doing this and that. I just want him gone.
I want him back.
I mean, obviously he's a petty character, but I just don't want to see him again. I would like a new antagonist, or to focus solely on Mike and Harvey the whole season.
That's fair enough. Oh, okay. I have one more thing that I think is going to blow your socks off.
Okay.
Spark some real discussion.
Okay, let's do this. I'm excited.
You ready?
I'm excited.
Listeners, are you ready? I need you to tell me you're ready. Okay, that's the end of the podcast. Good night. Okay, not really. Okay. So, I want an answer from you. Split second. Okay. First thing that comes to your mind.
Yes or no answer, or a sentence
It's
answer?
a yes or no answer.
Okay, I'm ready. Here we go.
Who wins? Harvey or Mike?
Harvey.
Harvey wins.
That's what my instinct says. Harvey.
Harvey.
That's what my instinct says. Now, when I think about it for a second, I think, well, being that it's a TV show and it has drama and it's got to be entertaining, it'll probably flip flop, and it'll be like Harvey will win and Mike will win some, and then Harvey will win some, and I don't know how it's going to come out though. I don't know how it's going to come out, but my gut says Harvey will win.
Okay, so you're going on file saying Harvey will win.
That's a very big claim to hold me to.
Because we're going to revisit this when it's over. We're going to play the clip. I'm going to be like, roll the clips. We're going to play the clip of you saying right now, you think that Harvey Specter is going to beat Mike Ross. Yes or no?
No.
No.
I can't
make up your mind, man.
I'm not retracting what I'm saying, but when you first asked me, it was just my instinct. I think Harvey's good enough to beat him.
Then we're going with it. You picked Harvey. I pick Mike.
I'll take Harvey. You take Mike. I guess that's good.
I pick Mike.
Okay, well, why do you think Mike's going to win? I don't know why you think that. I mean, obviously, there's some counter evidence to my Harvey argument in this episode, but we've had 3 seasons of Harvey being a lawyer god, and now Mike's an investment banker.
That's why Mike is going to win, because we expect Harvey to win. We always expect Harvey to win. Harvey's always won. He's never lost in anything. He wins everything. He's won everything for the entire show, and he's going to lose to himself, basically.
But what do you think that's going to hold in store for Mike and Harvey in the future? Do you think they're ever going to be friends again? Or are they going to be frenemies where they're kind of on loose terms? I think they're going to be friends again.
I think Mike's going to dominate Harvey, and then it's going to be over. And I don't know exactly how it's going to happen, but Mike will end up back at Pearson Specter, but he will not be an associate anymore.
A partner?
Maybe.
I mean, yeah, I guess Mike beating Harvey might be that kind of catalyst that he needs to stop being Harvey-ish, I guess. Just kind of cold and really, you know what I mean? Like, maybe Mike beating him will put him in his place a little bit.
No, it won't.
Maybe. I mean, we saw his face when Mike kind of owned him a little bit, and, that was awkward. I don't think
Harvey Specter will never be humble. We're rambling again.
Yeah. Well, anyways, so we have some announcements that we want to go through real quick.
Announcements?
Announcements.
This is not on the schedule.
No, but...
This is not on the schedule.
I mean, for those people that did subscribe to us and have downloaded our podcast, when we first made this podcast, we didn't think anyone would really listen to it. In some of the outtakes for the first episode, there's some banter between me and Aaron where we say, dude, it doesn't matter because no one is ever going to hear this anyways.
Yeah.
And it kind of surprised me when we had some people follow us on Twitter. I was like, well, people will always do that. But then when we checked our downloads, and we've had 100 downloads now in 13 different countries, and that's just not what I expected. We thank all of our listeners for liking our podcast. We never thought that would happen.
I am extremely pleased with what we've done so far. I mean, obviously there's that beginning hype that you get with everything, but I mean, we told ourselves going in that it's a tough thing to get into, and I told Nick, I said, I will do it for if we have 1 subscriber. If we have 1 loyal fan, that's good enough for me because I love Suits. I love to talk about Suits, and I will do that and try to do what I can to get as many fans as I can, but 1 fan is enough for me to make it worth it. And we have more than 1, and I'm really excited about it. I'm really thankful that everyone likes it, and I hope we have even more fans down the road, and I hope that everybody likes us and have all that great stuff.
I totally agree. I mean, it's one thing to have people download, it's just a number when you see that, but to have people tweet us and to, some people actually emailed me at suitspodcast@gmail.com and gave us feedback to it, and I wasn't expecting that, and that just makes it real to us that people actually listen to it. It's a very surreal thing.
Since we're talking about feedback, we're aware that we're still new at this and all that. And, there's obviously a lot of road bumps there, but we honestly appreciate any feedback. Like if you're listening to this and you're thinking, wow, they say a lot or something like that, tell us that. Tweet us. You can tweet us at Suits Podcast, or you can tweet our personal Twitters. I'm at a Fat Greek Cat. He's at Nick Layman 1992. And tell us exactly, if you're like, wow, that Aaron guy, he is too loud, then tweet at me and tell me, hey, man, you're talking really loud on that podcast. I mean, your voice is super sexy, but you were talking really loud. I would love to hear that. I want to know exactly what I'm doing wrong so I can make it perfect for you.
And don't forget to tell him that his voice is sexy, because he reminds me on a daily basis that he has a sexy voice. So just tweet him and tell him that. If nothing else, tell him he has a good voice.
Since we're here and we're just kind of rambling end of show type stuff, for the extremely loyal fans who listen all the way to the end, which I listen to a lot of podcasts and I usually don't listen to the end. So for the extremely loyal fans, we need a title for my boy Nick here, because I'm the host. I mean, seriously, of course I'm the host. I'm the host. Nick kind of produces the podcast and he edits.
And I'm a co-host, I guess. Or a guest appearance, if that's what you want to refer to me as.
You're not a guest appearance because you're on every episode, but you're not
the host.
You're not. I'm the. I mean, because think about it. If I'm the host and you're also the host, but you're also the producer and the editor, what does that make me? We're just like, you're way above me. So it only makes sense if I'm the host and you're like the co-host, but you're a producer. So that puts us on even footing. We just need a title for you.
Well, if you're the looks, then maybe I'm the brains.
Well, I have both, so I'm not sure.
Well, and I'm also the brawn. I'm super buff.
Oh, you're definitely not the brawn. Definitely, that is not the case. So anyways, tweet us and give us some ideas.
Also, big update from last time. We did get at Suits Podcast. Tweet us at Suits Podcast.
I think I already said it earlier, but yes, we got the Suits Podcast. I'm sure you've been spammed by us a lot, so you probably already know if you're listening. But at Suits Podcast. I love it.
It fits perfectly because it sounds official. Because if I got tweeted at by at Suits Podcast or at, Scandal Podcast, I would think, wow, this is the real deal. It's actually something sponsored by them.
It looks real until you see our 35 followers. Actually, we have 37 now.
2 up from the start of the episode.
Hey, 37? I'm happy with that.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I honestly, when I made the Twitter, I expected like 2 followers. But, I mean, it's cool.
All right, well, we've been rambling for almost 10 minutes about this. So, with that, we bring you to the end of the second episode of Suits Talk with Dem Gurus. I'm your host, Aaron.
And I'm Nick.
This has been great. We bid you adieu. Did you not like that? Okay. No.
No, because...
Okay, how about... Thank you and good night.
Dude, I wish you could hear it last time. Dude, tell me that's not what you picture, though. What? Like, after being like, thanks, guys, good night. It's like...